So hey guys, this is Sarah, and maybe from the title of this video you have gathered what I'm going to talk about. It really wasn't an easy video to make because it talks about a very complex subject. So if you haven't heard about the TV show 13 Reasons Why, well, maybe you're hiding under a rock or something, but yeah, everybody was talking about it, and at first I was just like, okay, this is another, TV show that's gathering attention or whatever, but people specifically came up to me a few times to tell me to watch the show or ask me if I had watched the show because it's about something that I'm very passionate about. Well, about two things I'm very passionate about, which are bullying and suicide. So, and amongst other things that are mentioned in the show too, but those are the main two things that join my interests and that I'm very passionate about. And it's what I'm working on for my master's internship. So to complete my master's degree, I'm going to do an internship about about bullying. So yeah, it's what I'm reading about all the time. There were a lot of negative critiques, feedback on the show, especially from people working in the field, like psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists, a couple of people, professionals that, said that the show was triggering for people, that, they weren't addressing the whole issue of bullying and suicide in the right way. And, when I was watching the show, I was trying not to have my perspective as a social worker in mind, as someone who intervenes with young people, with adults, etc. I tried to leave my professional background aside and just watch the show for what it was, a show. So I watched it entirely in a few days, and basically I don't have any major critiques about the show. I don't think it was made I don't think it was constructed in a bad way. I think it did a good job of showing the influence of peers, the impact they can have on someone's mental health and on someone's self-esteem. So that was one of the biggest critiques, was that they didn't address the whole mental health issues behind linked to suicide and all that stuff. But I mean, yeah, they didn't name it directly. They didn't say, they weren't talking about depression, anxiety directly, but they did mention it. I mean, they did show it, is what I mean to say. They showed it. So, Hannah, you can see more and more she gets, aggressive, passive aggressive. She starts to, she is isolated by other people, but she also starts, to be more distant. She cuts her hair. There are a number of things that, they show that hint that she's changing, that she is being more and more withdrawn, feeling, she even says things that, could a hint towards, the fact that she is thinking or she's going to commit suicide. So yeah, I wasn't sure I understood that critique. Even all the other characters, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see that they have mental issues, and even though it's not mentioned directly, they do show it, and they cover things like alcoholism, drug abuse, all that stuff. So I think they did a good portrayal of that. And another big critique was that they showed suicide as a vengeance tool. So what I understand is that it's a book. The story is originally a book, so I guess they followed the plot of the book and followed that. So the book also may be critiqued. I'm not going to go in what they say in the book because I haven't read it, but just from the show, I do understand that critique, that it can maybe make young people feel like they can use suicide as a way to get some kind of justice, to make people, to get back at people that hurt them. Too easy, that portrayal was too easy to just show that, you know, you can point fingers at some people and it's their fault if someone has ended their life. No, that doesn't work like that, because basically bullying is such a more complex thing. If we're going to follow that logic of getting back at people, well, she should have basically recorded tapes for all the school, for her parents. Well, that is a stretch, but I mean, let's stay okay on the school level. She should have written the tape for all the school, because it's not just the people who act in a rude way, in a mean way. It's also the people who witness it and don't do anything about it. Because if bullying can continue to, you know, continue in schools and all that stuff, it's also because there are people who aren't, you know, acting, or who aren't doing anything to stop it, and who are validating those actions by their silence, or even by laughing and or giving approval in different ways to those actions. So yeah, it's too simple. I hope young people need to understand that, you know, you can't put blame on other people to justify that you're going to end your life. At the end of the day, I do agree that it's your own choice if you decide to end your life, but also you can't, it's too easy. It's not just about, you know, talking about bullying in terms of, you know, that's the person who did, there are the person who are bullies, and there are the people who are victims. And so yeah, we need to, you know, eradicate the bullies basically, and you know, take care of the victims, because I mean, anyone can be a bully and anyone can be a reinforcer of the bullies. So we need to have a more systemic approach, a more wide perspective about the whole thing. And that's why I do believe that the portrayal of getting back at people who are the bullies, it's not enough. It's not a way to show how to basically, it's not a solution to bullying. You can't just pinpoint people and say, yeah, well, let's identify him, her, and that other person as a bully, and that will end bullying. No, it's a more dynamic, it's a more complex group dynamic, and so it means that we need to have a more broad approach and see things in a wider perspective. See the school, all the kids that are going to the school, the professionals at the school, the government financing the school system as actors in the problem and as actors in the solution. So yeah, so basically I think that, you know, the show couldn't address every facet, every aspect of bullying. So I wasn't, you know, that isn't necessarily a critique to the show directly, because a show can't show everything basically. Talking about suicide is very important. So I don't think that talking about it only is triggering and is dangerous, but what people were also critiquing was the graphic scenes, whether it was, spoiler alert, the graphic scenes of rape and the graphic scene of suicide. So my critique of that is, I do understand that they wanted to show the ugliness of the actions, and not to romanticize it, and not to, you know, just, you know, make it seem like less of an horror that it actually is. But the thing, I do think that they shouldn't have shown 2 scenes of rape explicitly, or at least just, you know, kept 1 and not go for 2, because that was a lot. Even though I commend them for trying to show that it's not a good thing and that it's not a romantic thing, I don't think it's so responsible to show that kind of image when you don't know in what context the children or the teenagers are going to be in when they're going to watch that. It's easy, for example, for kids that are surrounded by good family, good friends who are able to talk about it with other people to maybe receive that scene. But take a child who's maybe vulnerable and who doesn't have anyone to talk to, and then they see a scene like that and they're like trapped with the distress that might cause them. or the angst or the anguish, all that stuff that they're feeling already, and then they receive that and it adds to it, and they don't have any outlet. So that may be a potential danger, and I'm not sure how. I'm not sure if not showing it explicitly is the best thing, or if showing it, I really don't know, but it's just a reflection I'm throwing out there that maybe it could potentially be dangerous to show that kind of scene so explicitly. And so and another critique was that they said that they show that every adult in the show is incompetent, and I didn't agree. I thought that some parents were very present for their kids, even Hannah's parents. Maybe I don't know, they seem to be very present, but maybe the critique is that the adults seem to not be able to connect with their children. Is, well, I don't think it's a bad thing if they show they kind of show a realistic portrait in the sense that parents have other things to do, they're very busy, and sometimes they don't take the time to really ask in depth oh my god, that word, about how their kids' day has gone and all that stuff. So I think also it should be a responsibility now for us as I'm not a parent, but as parents and as professionals, to really take the time to speak to the young people and really have a conversation with them, not in an infantilizing way, but just in a way that we take them seriously and talk to them as as people who can think and that can express themselves. So just really address things without going through 26 routes, but just addressing the thing directly. So I would advise to just, if you're feeling like a teenager, a child, or your child is going through something rough, just ask them directly, what are you feeling? What are you going through? What is most difficult right now for you? And are you thinking about suicide? Just ask that question directly. Are you thinking about suicide? Because we need to talk about it. It is important. And maybe that's what the adults in the show didn't do, but at the same time it's very realistic to show that they didn't do that, because many parents don't have the time, or they don't think that their children are in such a state of distress. And the big scene that many people were mad about was the scene with the counselor, because we're like, they're showing that professionals are not doing their job right, and that means that children will think that they can't find help anywhere. But I do think that in reality, sometimes in the school system right now, I'm going to talk about my context here in Quebec, Canada, that sometimes how the school system is shaped right now, with professionals being cut, with less and less resources, human resources. Well, maybe if there is one counselor or one social worker, one psychologist for all the school, maybe they won't take the time to really go in depth into what the person is going through, and then they'll miss what was actually going on. So right now, I think that was a very realistic portrayal, and I'm not saying that it happens that way in every school, but it does give us that it reminds us how important it is to have professionals, counselors, psychologists, social workers, all these people on the school grounds to address those issues, to take the time to speak with the children, because it's not, now more and more it's put on the shoulders of the teachers, and the teachers already have so much to do with not enough, they're not even paid enough for all they're doing, which is educating the children. But now we're asking them to intervene on something so complex. So we need to have people who are more specialized on that, that are working in the social field, to help people to really address those issues and put more money into putting these people in schools, and to not only put rules, anti-bullying rules, like, you shouldn't bully or you shouldn't be mean. No, we need to have a more wide approach, as I was saying. So, revise how interactions, everyday interactions are going on between teachers, the students, between, the director. Every one of those people have an impact on how interactions are going on in the school. Another thing too, I'm going to try to wrap this up, but another thing too that I saw in articles was that they were saying that, they're showing that bullying equals suicide. Well, no, it's not an equation like that. They're not, I don't think the show was doing something like that. They were saying, oh yeah, it's not about, I didn't think it was about that. Yes, many people will experience bullying and not kill themselves. Okay, yeah. But there is scientific studies that have reported that being bullied, in the population of the children and the teenagers who are bullied, there's more children who have suicidal thoughts in that population. So being bullied may correlate with having more suicidal thoughts. I say may because I'm always very cautious, even though it's scientific result. So yeah, it may be correlated to more suicide, and you never know how someone's going to react. So Hannah, in the end, she put an end to her life, and that is also a realistic portrayal, as maybe someone else would have gone through the same things and wouldn't have killed themselves. But I mean, I think the purpose of the show is to create awareness about how much it can affect someone, and you can't say, well, no, she shouldn't. That is not realistic to show that you would have killed yourself from that. Well, you don't know. Maybe someone else would have gone through even less and decided to kill themselves. It's really not that simple. When you're in that black box and you can't see any more options for you, and all you see is that darkness, well, you never know what is going to happen in the end. You may feel trapped forever, or you may feel trapped momentarily, and all that stuff. And it's the same thing for being triggered by a scene. Someone may be triggered by the scenes in the show because they're very sensitive, or they have gone through the same things, but someone else who has gone through the same things may not be triggered. So now what needs to happen is, if we're asking ourselves the questions, should young people watch that show? I think that if you say don't watch it, they're going to watch it anyways. So as many professionals recommended, it's to watch the show with the younger people, your teenagers, whatever, to watch it with them and then address some of the issues or the most difficult parts that of the show, to have a discussion on the show with them, and have an honest and open conversation on the show with them, and also give them resources if they ever need it, hotlines, all that stuff, and explain to them that this girl put an end to her life, but that wasn't the ultimate option. She clearly could have had other options, and there is always another option. Suicide is an option, but it's never the right option, in the sense that especially in high school, you always feel like this is all that I'm going to be experiencing. Like they said in the making of, the frontal lobe of the brain is not fully developed in teenage years, so they're not really able to project themselves that far in the future, and to be able to rationalize in the same way as young adults and adults can do it. So it's very difficult for them to see outside of that black box and see outside of what they're experiencing right now. So it's very important to reinforce and really concretely show that they have other options. Be present, be interested in what they're doing, try to ask other people what's going on, try to create contact with the school to see how their children are doing in school, stuff like that. I'm just throwing out ideas, but I do think that the good, if there is one thing the show did right was create a conversation on something that is so many times so taboo and so not talked about. So yeah, basically I was trying to make a 10-minute video and that didn't work out. So whatever, I'm just going to stop it here. I hope this kind of made sense. If it didn't, I'm sorry. If it did, hooray. In any case, I've said my point and everything is said and done. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you share it if you find it instructive, constructive, whatever. If it has helped you, if it gave you another perspective on the show, or even on bullying and suicide. So yeah, share, like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you guys very soon. And yeah, I'll leave some hotline links in the bio for, you know, Montreal and all that stuff, because that is where I reside. But please make sure to give those kind of resources to the people around you who might be in distress. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.